There's so many words on these pages. I have never read a book so slow in my life. I am not the target audience for this book. So many books. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing another how much I read in a week vlog. If you're new here, hi, my name is Emmy. Make sure you subscribe. I film vlogs, reading, book related content. Now I'm going to preface this by saying that I am a fast reader. For me, this is always the speed that I've read at or how much I read. This is a typical week. I'm not trying to read as much as I physically can in a single week. I typically read 100 to 150 pages in an hour. So a 300-page book, which is typically the standard size of a book, I can read in one evening because I will typically read after work, 8 p.m, 9 p.m, 10 p.m, 11 p.m. You typically will always read for at least 4 hours during the weekdays. So I can usually read a book or half a book on a typical weekday. I'd say that in an average week I read like 6 to 9 books, so I'm expecting the same in this vlog. I don't think it will be anything different. On the weekends, if I don't have any plans or I'm staying at home, I'll usually be filming more reading vlogs and reading challenges, and that's typically where I can read a bit more, especially if I'm doing like a 24-hour reading challenge. Then I'll read like 7 books in one. I'm talking enough. We're here to watch me read and talk about books, so why don't we get started straight into the video, which is starting off on Sunday. So we are starting off this vlog already in the middle of reading a book. I have been reading the Plated Prisoner series. I'm on book Gleam, which is the 3rd in the series. There's 5 out with a 6th coming, and I am 363 pages in. So whatever I read today, basically going to be the second half of this book, and this book is 660 pages, so I'm over halfway. I'm definitely going to finish this in today's vlog, but I don't know how much I'm going to read after or what I'm going to read. I am also starting this on a Sunday while I am filming another vlog. I am enjoying this so much that I think I'm probably just going to continue reading the rest of the series of the books that I have. I'm someone who likes to read one book series at a time, typically, especially if it's really good and it's got me gripped. Like, why am I not just going to continue reading the rest of the books if they're available? And this I'm loving, but with each book, the book's like almost double in length. Like the first book was 300 pages, the next one was like 400 and something, this one is 600, I think the next one is 700. I don't know, they're printed a little bit larger font size, so it's not too bad, but I am enjoying the size length. I am so enthralled and like into it. Like, I'm hooked. I don't mind it too much. So I'm gonna continue reading this. I'm definitely gonna finish this in a couple hours, and then we'll maybe pick something else up. So I finished Gleam. I read the remaining pages, which was just under 300 pages. I think it was 298. So this book is officially done, and I'm not going to pick up the next one even though I have it. I'm gonna like pause and wait because the one after that I don't get a copy of for like another week and a half. So I feel like as soon as I finish the next one, I'm gonna want to just like finish the books that I have. So I'm trying to pace it out a little bit, give myself a chance to like want to jump back into this and miss it. I do kind of feel like I want to change things up a little bit, you know, give me a bit of a different story to go to. I need like a little bit of a palette cleanser after this, but I loved this. This was a 5-star read for me. On the June TBR this month we have Twin Crowns, so I thought let's just pick that up and go into it because I really want to read something with like a dual point of view right now, and I know this has it, so I'm gonna jump into this. This book has 506 pages, but it looks like it's printed quite large, the pages. So we'll see if I finish this all in one sitting or get through like a big chunk of it today. So I'm just about to start Twin Crowns. I am kind of going into this blind. I've not read any reviews. I've not seen other people speaking about it. I know it's YA. I know the premise of the plot. I've read the back of the book. I see that Sarah J. Maas has given it a review. One throne, two princesses, twin crowns, about witches. Stephanie Garber has also left a review. So I'm expecting some like YA goodness because I've just been reading adult fantasy book. So I'm expecting some like wholesome vibes, something a little bit cozy, something easy to read, but again, still fantasy. I'm going through my witch phase right now. I just love witch books. So we're just gonna sit and read basically. Okay, this is interesting. The chapter is a dual point of view. Like one chapter is focusing on one sister Ren and then the other is on the other sister Rose, but it's written in third person. I've read a few books like this lately, but I'm like, if you're gonna do dual POV, why not just do first person? I'm not someone who really cares whether it's in first person or third person. I don't find it difficult to concentrate on. What I do find difficult is if they like keep swapping perspectives or talking about different characters and you can't really follow along. Well, that's just bad writing. Yeah, doesn't bother me at all, but very interesting. Yesterday I ended up getting like 90% of the way through Twin Crowns and then I called it a night because I wasn't feeling well. So I read 400 pages of this and then I read the 298 pages in Gleam, which was 698 pages total for my reading on Sunday. I woke up this morning and I finished Twin Crowns. I had like less than 100 pages left and I finished it. I think for me, because Gleam was a 5-star read, this for me, I'm thinking around 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's very YA. I am not the target audience for this book. I don't know if it's just because I'm used to reading like adult fantasy books, but so many things that happen in here, if they were happening in an adult fantasy book, it would be like, oh no, you're gonna get betrayed, or that's gonna come back to bite you, or they're lying, or you can't trust them. But because it's like a really YA book, you can trust them and there's no plot twist and there's no betrayal. There's almost like a sense of naivety in this book and innocence, and that can read to an adult reader as very cringy or cheesy, but I think it's enchanting and sweet. I'm just obviously not the target audience for this book. I think this book would be great for like 13-year-olds even, but did I enjoy it? Yes. I loved it. I think it's so wholesome and cute and sweet. Is it going to be my favourite fantasy book series ever? No. It reminds me of Caraval. Like, I have similar feelings to this that I did with Caraval, and I sort of gave the Caraval trilogy a similar rating. I think it's really sweet, and I know that there's going to be like a plot twist or like change in love interest in the next book, so I think I'm just going to continue reading it and just pick up the second book today, because honestly I'm not feeling well and I don't have the brain power for like any other book that I have to really focus and concentrate on, and because of how YA this is, I feel like it's just easy for me to sit and read. Like, I don't need to use my brain to think too hard about things, and I can just enjoy the story for what it is. So I would say it's a light-hearted, easy read, but very YA. But I still really enjoyed it and I'm going to keep reading. Hello everyone, it is Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is. I was not well yesterday. I'm still not feeling great today. I'd have thought that not feeling well would equal more reading because I have just more free time to lie in bed, but I did manage to get in around 3 hours of reading last night in bed, and I finished Twin Crowns. I read the last like 100 pages I had of this and finished it, and then I immediately picked up Curse Crowns because I just don't have the brain capacity right now to think while I'm reading. I just want easy palate cleansers, and these are very easy to read. Like I've said, these are very YA, like very YA. If anything, it's telling me or showing me that I love a darker fantasy, like a fantasy with betrayal and high stakes. These are just light and cozy, and you can take people on face value type of books. Every time something happens, I'm like, oh, a betrayal's gonna come. No, it doesn't. Very enchanting, very magical. Just very young. I don't personally mind that. That's what I'm in the mood for. Book one, I think, is a 3.5 star read for me, just because I'm definitely not the target demographic for this book, but I still really enjoyed it. And I'm gonna finish book two today. 224 pages in, which is less than halfway, but around that. So yeah, tonight I'm gonna spend maybe 3 hours again doing this. I love that in my typical reading vlogs, or like my weekend reading vlogs, we start the vlogs in the day when the morning and I'm all ready to read and dressed cute with makeup, and then when I do what I read in a week's, and I start at nighttime in my pajamas with my makeup off because I read after work. I don't work a typical 9 to 5. Usually I'll work 9 to 5 or 10 till 6, but I work from home running a marketing agency. If you've been subscribed to me for more than the last 3 months, then you've probably seen my vlogs on here where I run my small business, but all my clients and my talents work is done between the hours of like 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. So I'm constantly glued to my computer during those hours, and I don't get to read during the day because I don't even have enough time on my lunch break to do that. So my reading on the weekday starts after work. Right now it is after 7 p.m. Obviously because I've been putting a lot more work and effort and time into my socials because I'm really enjoying creating like book content and reading content and TikToks. Those hours don't cut into my work day, they're separate. So it's usually on my lunch break I'll be editing or filming. I'll typically do filming for TikToks and stuff during my lunch break, but all my editing work comes after. So 5 till 6 or 6 till 7, I'll usually spend time after work editing. So my reading time each weekday is getting cut down more and more because I need to find time to edit and do other things. I go to my Pilates classes and do like all my fitness stuff at like 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning before work. I am losing a little bit more reading time a week like these last couple of weeks, but I'm still doing pretty good with the amount that I'm reading a week. It's not really fluctuated that much. But anyways, I think, well actually what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go get dinner and have some food because I'm hungry, and then I'm gonna get comfy and read my book, probably in bed because I'm still not feeling great, but we're gonna get this finished. I know I'll get this finished tonight. I'm not gonna go to sleep until this is finished. So we did finish Curse Crowns last night, and I then went and picked up Burning Crowns. I just thought, you know what, this book is shorter. It's like 100 pages less than this one. So again, I'll read it in one sitting, technically two, but I'll read it in a day. So I'm already like 100 and something pages in that I read earlier this morning, but I'm still working. It's still the work day. So in like an hour and a half, I can finish this and I will have like 310 pages to read. So I'll have this done in less than 3 hours, which means I'm definitely going to start a second book today and changing it up. But I don't know what to read, that's the question, because I go on holiday next week and I'm thinking about what books I want to take while I'm away. I actually think I'm going to take so many books. I have some more books arriving this week as well because my TBR, this here is my TBR. That's it, that little thing. It used to be the entire shelf, but no. So I'm running out of books to read, which is great because it means I'm reading everything that I own, but also not great because I have to spend money to buy more books. I am going to be filming a very fun video soon. I just did a reading only fantasy books for a week video, and I may be doing a reading only romance books for 7 days video, but I want to read 7 romance books in 7 days. So I placed an order for some romance books that are going to come because I don't really have many. When I did that, I ended up pre-ordering and ordering some more fantasy books, of course. I just can't resist, for starters, 1, a good Waterstones discount or sale, and 2, any chance to get more points on my Waterstones card. I think I've got like 40 or 50 quid on my account that I can use to buy books, but I'm letting it like add up. So maybe I'll go and do a big Waterstone shop soon when I come back from holidays, like in person. But I don't know what to read. I don't know. But I've got quite a few books that I want to read on my Kindle. I've got the Book of Azrael, Trial of the Sun Queen. I actually downloaded a couple Kindle Unlimited books that are like 300 pages or less, so maybe I'll pick up like one of them because I could probably read that in one sitting as well. Anyways, we'll review that later. I'm going to continue reading this. I'm actually really enjoying these. I don't think it's going to be a book series that I'm going to think about regularly once I finish them, and I just keep finding myself wanting to read Ren's chapters more than Rose's. I just think her character story is a little bit more interesting, but it has been a nice light palette cleanser. I am feeling like when I finish this that I want something different. I want something a bit more adult. I'm surprisingly really enjoying this, even though it's very young. finished it. I don't know why, but I was rooting for the other ship in this. There's a love triangle and I wanted her to get with the other guy. Not gonna say who or anything, don't want any spoilers, but the whole time I thought it was gonna happen and it didn't. So when I got to the end I was like, oh, that's not the ship that I wanted. It was gonna be like a 3.75 or 4 stars, but my disappointment from that, it's gonna be a 3.5. Still very wholesome, very sweet, has a happily ever after, but I'm done with this. The trilogy is done and I'm ready to move on. We have the Kindle and I think I'm gonna read A Liar's Twisted Tongue. It's 370 pages. I'll probably get like 200 pages in before I have to go to sleep. But I actually saw this on a TikTok sound, like a sound from the audiobook. The narrator for the audiobook of this is the guy who does Kai from Powerless. So when I heard the audio, I thought it was from Powerless. It sounded like something that would be in Powerless, but it wasn't. So I was like, what is this book? I need to go and read it. So I don't know what it's about. I've not looked up any reviews. I've not seen anyone else talk about it. So it has the potential to be like really, really good or really, really bad. But Kindle read, quite short. I'm interested. Let's read it. Know where to start. I have never struggled so much to read a book before. Last night I was considering DNFing the book. I don't know if that's just because I was so tired when I was reading it, but it's so confusing. I had to go back and reread so many pages because I just couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. I don't know if my brain is just tired from not feeling well or just switched off from having read the Twin Crowns trilogy, but this is intense. This thrown straight in. There is 101 words and names and world building and characters. So many words are so similar, so I'm thinking, wait, who's that person, or what's this, or hang on, like what's this world? And then the world building in it is quite confusing and complicated. Like I still can't wrap my head around it. But today I want to get it done. I want to read it. I want to get it done. I'm hoping that like the more I read, the more I'll start to pick up on things and things make sense, because right now it's just not really making any sense. Like I don't know if it has plot holes or if I'm just not getting things, or both, because there are some things that I'm like, hang on, that doesn't make sense, or hang on, did I just like miss that completely? I'm like 20% of the way in. There's no romance or anything happening yet. It's just very confusing world building. Yeah, I'm just struggling to wrap my head around this world and the politics and the system. It's very, yeah. But I'm just gonna dive straight in and try and read as much as I can. Ideally, I want to finish this today. Only 200 something pages left, but it's gonna take me longer than I usually takes to read a book because I am having to like reread so many parts of it. I don't know how long this is gonna take me to finish, and I don't know if I'll be able to start anything else after, but I'm ready to read it and just crack on, so let's do that. So it is now Friday. I also have a new camera. I'm trying out this new filming camera, so it may look a little bit different from now on. Last night I finished on Kindle A Liar's Twisted Tongue, and I have to say, I have never read a book so slow in my life. Now, this vlog isn't trying to read as much as physically possible. It's just this is how much I read on a day-to-day basis, and how long it took me to read that book was like double the amount of time that it takes me to read a typical fantasy book on Kindle of that length. So I finished the book. I rated it 2 stars. I feel bad giving it any less because I did finish it. I did read the whole thing. I just cannot DNF a book, but I should have DNF'd that book. I have absolutely no doubt that the writer knows their world, the magic system, the politics, all the characters inside out in such intricate details, but it feels like a lot of that information just wasn't shared with us. Personally thought that it was missing a lot of the typical world building that you get with a fantasy book. We were sort of just thrown in there and everything just kept kind of piling up. Nothing was really making sense. You know, every time I'd be like, all right, there's these different kinds of humans, but they're not humans. They're species of people, magic people. There's different kinds of them, but then there's different realms and different worlds and then different magical powers and different universes, and I honestly think that like Crescent City was one of the most intense world building. Here's 101 characters thrown at you at the start, but like that has nothing on this. Like Crescent City was so easy to grasp compared to this. I just felt like as I kept reading, nothing was making more sense. The pacing also really confused me and was why it took so long for me to get through, because the pacing was a bit all over the place. Kept creating for me personally like a disconnect between the characters. So there'd be a chapter and, you know, when the paragraph is done, there's a line break, the next paragraph starts and it's in a completely different place 2 weeks later, and then the next scene is like 3 hours later, then the next scene is a couple days later. Like it just kept jumping and I'm like, hang on. And like there was one scene towards the end where one of the main characters was like on the floor outside, he'd been attacked, and the main female character like comes and stands over him and they have a full conversation, and then paragraph, line break, he's then suddenly in the infirmary, he got there on his own, and then the main female character's there and she's like, what happened to you? But I'm like, you were just in that scene, like you just had a conversation with him. So then I was like, hang on a second, was he dreaming of her? Did like in his injured state and haze he was thinking of it? Like was she actually there, or was it a different character? Like it just was not clear at all. So I kept having to go back and be like, hang on a second, this doesn't add up. And then I'd read it and I go, no, we're just missing information. Like I don't know what character this is, I don't know what is real, I don't know what is going on, but not in a good way. Just it felt like there was a lot of disconnect and plot holes. Anyways, I don't really like to talk too much about books that I don't really like. Everyone has their own opinions and own thoughts and preferences when it comes to reading. I think what I love, someone else is going to hate. What someone else hates, I might love, and vice versa. And everything that I might like, you might not like. Yeah, I just had a really difficult time reading this. That is what I read yesterday. And today we're going to start something new. And I don't know what I want to read. I don't know if I pick up a physical book. I am going to be filming over this weekend, I think. I think I might try and do like another reading challenge or something. So I don't know if I do like an easy Kindle read tonight or if I pick up a physical book. I'm going to get cozy, I'm going to get comfy, I'm going to have some food, and then we'll pick our book and start reading for the night. So I picked up book 3 in the Blood and Ash series. There are so many books in this series. I have 5 of them for Blood and Ash, and then I have the first of the prequel series, Flesh and Fire, which is A Shadow in the Ember. And this is on my TBR for the month, so I thought I'd tick that off. People also say that A Shadow in the Ember and the prequel series they actually prefer to Blood and Ash. And the reading order is that you can read both series at the same time. So I really want to get through with this. I want to like read this because when I finish book 3 in Blood and Ash, I can start the first book in Shadow in the Ember. There's like a specific reading order. This is what I found, it was on TikTok, and that's the order that I'm going to read them in. So because there are so many books in these series and it's an incomplete series, there's still more books coming, I feel like I should try and read like one book in this series a week. So I'm gonna start it because I finished book 2 last week, so definitely need something new in this series. And I've finished a lot of series that I've been reading lately. Like I finished in this vlog the Twin Crowns trilogy, one book away from being up to date in the Plated Prisoner series. I finished Kingdom of the Wicked. Like most of the book series I'm in the middle of. I actually wrote a list of all the books I'm in the middle of reading, but most of the other ones I'm close to being done or only have 1 or 2 books left. So I might do an updated continuing books I'm in the middle of reading, or book series I'm in the middle of reading video. I had quite a productive like last 2 weeks in terms of like finishing my TBR, getting through like a big chunk of my physical TBR. I think I've got like 8 books left on my physical TBR, which is insane because I had like 30 a couple weeks ago. But this is the biggest thing on my shelf, this series, and getting through it. And I love it because they're so descriptive, and also like there's so many words on these pages, so many words. It's a big book, it does take me a big time to go through. So if I want something like fast paced, something quick, you know, something to like get me out of a reading slump, it's not this. But I love this world, I love these characters. The book 2 was left on a cliffhanger and I'm ready to find out what happened. I'm ready to keep reading, so I'm gonna shut up and we're just gonna read. it is Saturday, which means this is the last day of reading in this vlog. I actually only read 239 pages yesterday. I was hoping to get around halfway, but I'd say maybe like 40% of the way in, almost halfway. I only read for 2 hours last night. I decided that I had too much to do because basically when you're watching this video, I will be on my summer holiday. I'll be on vacation. I will be lying by a poolside or a beach reading books. I have had so much like prepping and planning to do for that trip that I actually spent most of my night last night packing. You would have seen my suitcase and everything in the back of my videos. I had clothes everywhere. I just had a lot of like life admin stuff to do. So I only read for a couple hours. But I do want to get this book finished today. It is like 5 p.m. Again, today, all I've been doing is like editing videos and catching up on like the last little things I have to do before I go away. So I haven't read today, which is crazy because I spend every weekend reading when I have free time. But yeah, just busy. So the aim is to finish this book today. This book is, trying not to look at spoilers while I'm searching, 562 pages. Got just under 300 pages to go. I think I can spare 3 hours of reading this evening to get this done. So we're gonna do that. One thing about this book series that I have spoken about before is how the pace of it is much slower. I don't know why, but book 1 felt like it was written differently, like it was paced completely different. I think maybe it was edited in a different way, but book 2 and book 3, you'll read a scene and they'll have a conversation and then the conversation ends and then you flip over, it's a new chapter, and then they're just picking that straight up again, like that. Turns out that conversation hasn't actually ended, if that makes sense. So it's very slow. Like the timeline of events that happen in each book is very slow. Instead of like, here's a conversation of characters happening and then they're going and doing something about it. It's like, no, here's a conversation in depth. Like I feel like I'm in this relationship. I feel like I'm in the middle and witnessing everything that they're going through. And I feel like half of that plot and half of that dialogue could be cut out. Like it doesn't necessarily add to the plot, it just adds to the characters' relationships and their like individual development. But when you're talking about the same things over and over again for like multiple books, it starts to get a bit annoying. So some of this I'm just like, we've already had this conversation, you guys have already spoken about this, we're in book 3, you should already know that you shouldn't be doing these things. Like that's the only gripe I have with these books, because I love the characters and I love the overall story. It's just so slow to read. Like there's too much detail and depth. I could do with half of it, but I still enjoy it. So let's finish it. I finished it. We read the book. I read it last night. Wow. The one thing, like I said, I have with these books is how descriptive it is and how many of the same conversations just get repeated. But the one thing I do love is you have so many questions when you read this book series. Like every single book, it just feels like the questions are piling on and on and on, and you're like, none of this is making any sense and I don't know what anything is. And then you get to the end and all your questions are answered. But of course you start the next book and you already have 101 more questions, but this, I'm like, this was good. The ending of this, great. It was giving me the same vibes as the new House of the Dragon trailer, where she's like, I mean to fight this war and win. He's like, to war then. That is what the ending of this book was giving. That is the full week of reading done. So let's do a quick wrap up of what we've read, how many pages, because that is what this video has been, is how much I read in a week. So over the last 7 days, I have read 2,742 pages, which I would say is probably on like the lower side of how much I typically read. And we read 6 books. So we first finished Gleam and read this book. Loved it. This was 5-star read for me. The best read of the week. Then we jumped into Twin Crowns. This was 3.5 stars for me. Very YA, very young, but I still enjoyed it. It's not going to be like a favorite, but I'm glad I read it. My brain needed that break. So of course we jumped into the second book, Cursed Crowns. We finished that. This was 3 stars, and Burning Crown, and this was 3.5 stars. So an entire trilogy we got done. Then we read A Liar's Twisted Tale on the Kindle, which was 2 stars. I'm not going to say anything more about that. And finished it off with The Crown of the Gilded Bones. I honestly love all the names of these books in this series. It's so clever when you read the books and then you see the references to it and you get it. I'm like, yes, that is smart. But this was 4 stars for me. I just think I could do with more editing on these books. More bits could have been cut out, but it's still a 4 stars. I'm yet to rate a book in this series below 4 stars yet. But the next one I will be starting is A Shadow in the Ember. I'm gonna take that away on holiday with me, I think, because I have good feelings. I have good vibes. Everyone says that they usually prefer that to Blood and Ash, so I want to get started on that. I'm very excited. But anyways, that is how much I read this week. I hope you enjoyed reading these books with me. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, because there are more vlogs coming. I'm uploading twice a week at the moment with lots of fun-filled reading content. But if there's any reading vlogs or books you want me to read in vlogs in particular, let me know in the comments below, because my TBR is dwindling and I need to pick up some more books. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.